Hi friends, welcome to the Scapegoat Club. My name's Jess, psychotherapist, coach, and I come from a really difficult family. And in this video, I'm gonna talk about when parents and families get love wrong, get the idea, get the emotion, get the essence of what a loving relationship is, when they just don't get that right. And the reason I wanted to spend just a little bit of time on that today is because I think that we can get really stuck, especially when we're looking at leaving a difficult relationship, or how to put in boundaries around people who say they love us and we think is a loving relationship, but it's not working out that way. It's causing us harm. It's something that we can't keep going with. It might be abusive and toxic and really difficult. So I think there can be a lot of reasons why we get stuck over this question of love. I think the first reason is that really, I think even very harmful people in our lives will use the word love and say that they love us whilst not following that up with actions. And so we believe, and we've been taught, or we're being told, that they are being loving towards us. And also we have, as a society, we just have this general idea that most people, and hopefully the majority of relationships, are coming from a kind and loving place. Especially families, especially say the parent-child relationship. When I look back at my childhood, I struggle to think of times when I was told that there's a possibility that parents might not be loving towards their children. That really wasn't something that was modeled to me, that was shown. It was something I didn't see on television, really. I think the extreme ends of child abuse, say physical or potentially even sexual abuse, I was aware of that, but I couldn't and didn't relate that to my personal experience. I just assumed that because those extremes weren't happening to me, that actually my parents were loving. And I really reflect on things that I do see in films and on TV, and actually even on reality TV, where parents are just so in love with their children. They have a baby and they're just absolutely enamored and adore this new being in their life. And that moves through childhood, where they play together and they enjoy each other and they have fun, and eventually into kind of relationships where adults are friends with their parents. And the more that I see that, actually, the more it helps me recognize that, oh, in my relationships, in my family, that wasn't the case. And that really centers me around this idea that the love wasn't there in any way, that in any tangible way that I could recognize and that was positive and helpful for me. And that really brings me to the crux of what I think we need to remember if we're trying to figure out what's going on with a difficult relationship in our lives. Someone can say they love us, but it's not just about the words, it's about the actions. And if we don't feel loved, love is an emotion, right? It's something we have to, it's like a full body experience when we feel loved. If we don't feel loved by a person, that is on them and it's not on us. And this is a trap that I fell into so many times with my family, and I'm going to speak a lot more to. But it's the person giving the love. If they want the love in return, should be the whole point of love. If you tell somebody you love them, I'm assuming that means that you want to have a relationship with them. And so then the onus is on the person who's saying, hey, I love you, to follow that up with meaningful actions. Maybe it's touch, giving someone a hug. Maybe it's doing kind things for them. Maybe it's looking out for them. Maybe it's cooking a meal. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But what does matter is that it's not just the word, I love you, but it's followed up by meaningful actions that mean something to the other person. And so if someone is saying that they love you, but you're not feeling it in return, and they're saying, that's your fault, that's something to really start questioning. And especially if this is coming from parents when the children are younger, when the children are minors. Because in that instance, it is absolutely, the onus is 100% on the parents to make their child feel loved. It's not the child's fault if they don't feel loved. And again, this is a trap that I have basically been in. I fell into it. I was pushed into it when I was young because I didn't know and I didn't have any choice. And I have been stuck in that, or I was stuck in that loop for decades. Thankfully, I think I'm out of there, which allows me to make this video. So here's some of the kind of patterns that I remember from my childhood, is that I was always told there was a problem with me that almost kind of meant that somehow they couldn't love me properly. So I remember so many times that I was just desperately trying to prove to my mum in particular, I was desperate to prove to her that I loved her. So for any Brits out there, and forgive me because I don't know if you had this in other countries, but when I was growing up in the UK, Cadbury's chocolate had an advert. They had an ad campaign for little Rolo chocolates, little chocolates with caramel on the inside. And the tagline was, "Do you love someone enough to give them your last Rolo?" And they had these cheesy adverts where people would kind of be eating them and then they'd have the last one and they're like, oh, and then they give it to someone else. And it was kind of fun. It was, well, for me, it was, however old I was as a child, it was kind of fun and kind of cute. And I remember wrapping it up, emulating this advert and having had some Rolos, and I wrapped up the last one. I made a little box and I gave it to my mom. And I really at the time thought that just would prove to her, because it had been on the TV, right? I was proving to her that I loved her that much that I would give her this chocolate. I truly believed it because I wanted her to understand how much that I loved her, and I wanted her love back, and I wanted that loving relationship. To be fair, I don't quite remember. I don't think she rejected it, but it didn't work, basically. It didn't work. It didn't have the effect that I wanted for her to be like, oh, I get it now. I get it now, Chess. You love me. I've been wrong all along. You do love me. And so now we can have this relationship. I remember giving her one of those world's best mum mugs or something. I can't quite remember what it said, but it was something like, I love you so much. Again, this was later saying, hey, I'm proving this to you. This is for you, for your birthday, for Mother's Day, whatever. I do love you. I don't know where this question is coming in, because I was given this narrative my whole childhood that I was selfish, that I was hurtful, that I was mean, and that meant that because I was doing those things to them, it showed that I didn't love them. That's how they were presenting it. And I was saying, no, I do love you. And so then, because they were then saying, well, all this proves that you don't love us, we're not going to love you back. And that's where I think the manipulation of love gets really, really, really screwed up in difficult families. And so it kept me in this game where I just had to try and prove again and again, and was trying to give and give love in a way that they would receive it and see it. And then I could get love back. But of course it wasn't going to happen. And yeah, this is because my parents were modeled different ideas of love, I think. But here's the thing, at a certain point, it doesn't matter what you've learned about love in your childhood or what you learn in your life growing up. At some point, when you come to a relationship with someone and they say, you say you love me, but this doesn't feel loving to me, then that's when the onus is on you to say, oh, okay, I need to rethink, I need to listen to this person, and I need to figure this out. Of course, children can't really do that very well, but they can express it, I think, on certain levels. Children are smart, they get love, they get the basics, they don't get the other mind games. And so if a child is confused about feeling loved, then that really has to come back to the adult in the room, the adult in the relationship, who is supposed to be showing that love. And it shouldn't be that hard. It really shouldn't. So if we come back to this idea of if you are in a relationship and you're trying to figure out if it's loving or not, I think it really often we can really overcomplicate this. And it basically comes down to, do you feel loved? And even that can be complicated, because our feeling of love can feel different from person to person. And sometimes when we grow up in, say, a chaotic household or with a lot of uncertainty, love can feel very up and down. There could be a lot of different feelings when it comes to it. But ultimately, love should feel comforting, supportive, positive, almost like a warm hug. It should feel like something that we can lean into and rely on. It shouldn't feel scary, confusing, or precarious, and something that we have to really work very hard not to lose. That's when love can actually be a bit more like obligation, control, or potentially some kind of unhealthy bond. So friends, thank you so much for joining me again today. I really appreciate you being here, and whatever brings you here, from my heart to yours, genuinely, I wish you well, and please be kind to yourself, and I will talk to you again soon. Take care and bye for now.